can write the question in the chat function. The other option is also you can put your hand up using the raise your hand emoji and then take yourself off mute to ask the question. So please introduce yourself and what organisation you work for. If we do run out of time today with the Q&A, we can follow up with you individually after the session. Just pop your question into the chat pane. So I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners and custodians of this land, the oldest continuing cultures in human history. I acknowledge the Yagara and Turrbal people of the lands on which I work and live here in Meanjin in Brisbane, and I'd like to pay my respects to all First Nations colleagues and friends joining us online today. I'm joining you from along the beautiful Maewa Brisbane River and in Kurilpa in West End. And for those online, please feel free in joining us in acknowledging country where you are today through the chat function as well. I think most people should know me by now, but if you don't, my name is Amy Dellett and I am the Data and Reporting Analyst in the Research and Policy team at QATSICPP. And I coordinate our Research Evaluation Network webinars like this one today, and also our online forum, as well as providing data capability support internally to QATSICPP and also externally to our members. So in terms of membership, these network meetings and webinars are open to everyone as they're about sharing resources and collaboration. However, social service staff in research and evaluation roles are particularly encouraged to attend. So the network is open to QCOS members and non-members. So if you work in the community services sector and you find our webinars valuable, we really appreciate and encourage you to consider membership, which can either be individual membership or membership through your organisation. So if you'd like to get in touch, our team's email address is research@qcos.org.au. So the Research Evaluation Network is really an opportunity to collaborate and share knowledge in data analysis, research and evaluation for the community services sector in Queensland. You can learn more about specific topics, for example, data visualisation and storytelling, qualitative research, knowledge translation, systems evaluation and lots more. So we have had a very busy first half of the year. So I thought I'd share some of the recordings that we've held recently that you may have missed out or want to find some time to catch up on. So I'll just share them in the chat pane with you now. So you can also access our recordings from the Research Evaluation Network webinars and resources on our Community Door Research and Evaluation Hub page. And so we've got a lot of links to share so you can access those resources as well. So I'll just share them in the chat there with you now. Lots of links, sorry. So we also have a research and evaluation forum that sits within the Microsoft Teams platform. And in the chat, I've shared instructions on how you can join the forum in the chat pane. So in terms of communication, I do also email the network about once a month with upcoming network opportunities. So keep an eye out for those emails in your inbox. And lastly, so I just wanted to also mention QCOS Data Point is now live on the QCOS Data Hub website. So QCOS Data Point has been designed as a central location where community services staff can access up-to-date data that is relevant and meaningful to the community services sector. So it is now my absolute pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today's event. Candice Butler is a proud Aboriginal woman with strong family connections to Yarrabah in far north Queensland. As the inaugural director of the Centre of Excellence, at the Queensland Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Child Protection Peak, or QATSIPPP, Candice has provided significant leadership in the design, delivery, management and evaluation of projects to improve child and family wellbeing across Queensland. She is passionate about ensuring Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have true self-determination and authority over the decisions that are made about their lives. Candice is a social worker with 15 years experience working across government and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander affairs. Candice has also completed a graduate diploma in education and a graduate certificate in evaluation through the University of Melbourne. Personally, I have loved following your journey at QATSIP over the last, I guess, almost 10 years. And yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge and congratulate you on your leadership, Candice. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And like I said, there will be some time for Q&A, and I'll hand it over to Candice.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amy, and thank you for that lovely introduction. And it gives me, I'm really honoured to be able to present to you all today our journey of creating our own evaluation framework for our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community-controlled organisations. And I'll get a bit more deeply into that as we progress. But as Amy said at the end, more than happy to take any questions, and also any questions that I'm not able to answer. Feel free to reach out to me. I think my contact details will be provided as part of the webinar. So, and I'll also have my last slide will have my contact details too as well. So let me just start to share my screen. There we go. Now the technology is working for me. So similar to Amy's beautiful acknowledgement, I too would like to acknowledge that the traditional custodians on whose lands we walk, talk and do business today. I acknowledge and pay my respects to the many elders past and present who have tirelessly paved the way, guided us and given us strength to draw on knowledge systems of growing up children and their connections to family, community and culture. And I particularly want to acknowledge any other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples that are joining our webinar today, and acknowledge my family who, as Amy said, are from Yarrabah in far north Queensland. So, you know, I'm very strongly connected to Ambroms and also Sands family, and have strong connections to the Wulgarugaba and Kukalanji tribes. So we commenced. So a bit about, firstly, I thought for those who don't know about our Centre of Excellence, I thought before I jump into the evaluation framework discussion, just start with a bit of an overview about who we are as a Centre of Excellence. And we're a very newly formed Centre of Excellence. It was launched at our members conference in 2022, and I officially commenced in the role post my Churchill Fellowship travels in 2023, so about July 2023. We are driven by our purpose, which is to contribute empirical research, critical evidence data, and innovative recommendations to support program design, practice, and decision making and service delivery. We advocate for a child protection system that is based on evidence. By sharing our collective knowledge and experience, we can all make a positive impact on policies and practices to combat the overrepresentation of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children in Queensland's child protection and justice systems. The aim of having our QATSIPPP evaluation framework, hopefully, you know, really is connected strongly to our overall aim and purpose as a Centre of Excellence. So, you know, it's to gather evidence of culturally safe and culturally designed practice to support the social and emotional well-being of children and families, while informing what can improve within our service delivery and within the broader child protection system to ensure services are designed and commissioned to meet the needs of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children and families. The aspiration is that we facilitate the ownership of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander intellectual property. We enable and drive change to ensure best practice. This evaluation framework is our means to exercising self-determination. We are asking questions and listening deeply to a range of perspectives to enable change and improvement. We listen to and learn from the values, beliefs, and perspectives of our communities in a way that upholds and honours our unique cultural practices and knowledge systems. The QATSIPPP evaluation framework can be implemented for internal evaluation of programs of services, as well as applied to evaluations conducted by external evaluators that are commissioned by either our member organisations or funding bodies. You will notice that there's that third dot point about what we wish to test and refine. And so we've been on a journey with our evaluation framework for approximately 2 years with our sector, and we're just always constantly seeking their feedback to ensure that our evaluation principles, our evaluation standards, and our useful evaluation tools are what our member organisations are seeking in an evaluation framework. So this is at the moment, it's still a very much a living document, and it will continue to be a living document. And once it's officially launched, we will definitely ensure that each and every one of you that have joined today, are invited to that launch, but also are aware of when that launch occurs. So what guides our evaluations for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children and families? Our evaluations will be guided by our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander knowledge systems, so our ways of doing, being, knowing, learning and growing. They will be led by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and will honour and strengthen the customs and practices deemed appropriate by elders, traditional owners and community leaders of the communities in which they are undertaken. Our evaluations are also, our goal is that they are healing and affirming, while it's also generating ideas for renewal. And we've had some questions around, how can an evaluation framework be healing? And our way of answering that question is, for so long, our people, we haven't even been involved correctly in evaluations. And what I mean by that is, sometimes we've just had evaluations done, a lot of times, I shouldn't say sometimes, we've had evaluations done to us. We've never actually been part of from the very inception of an evaluation to the getting transparent updates, or reports. And so by saying that our framework is healing, it's not only about that participation in the actual evaluation being healing, it's about how do we ensure that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are involved in evaluations from that very beginning. And, that in itself is working towards self-determination of actually, well, is this evaluation the correct evaluation for this organisation or the correct evaluation for this program? We're constantly asking questions. And so, when we are asked that question about how are evaluation processes or evaluations, how can they be healing? And it's just about reframing, well, we need our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples to be involved across the board when it comes to evaluations, because no doubt, some of you online have even had that experience too as well. As I know, as an ex-practitioner, we would, constantly have evaluators coming in asking us questions about our programs or questions about our service delivery or whatever it may be. And there was never the feedback loops. That was a lot of our frustrations as practitioners, was we were never really informed, well, where are things at? And so you think of us as practitioners, we're able to ask those questions, but then when you think about our children and our families in really remote and rural communities, they aren't given the opportunity to ask questions. And so, I think it's important that we start to look differently at evaluation processes and ensuring that even when we're designing an evaluation, that we're involving Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and communities from the very get-go. So our goal is that we seek to grow the knowledge, evidence and funding base of culturally safe service responses proven to work for our families and communities. Our purpose is to ensure that our evaluations are guided by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander knowledge systems, and that our principles align with what we acknowledge are also our obligations as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community-controlled organisations. I think this quote really captures what we're trying to bring to life with this evaluation, and that it's about, our approach is all about hope. It's not accepting the high rates of our children in the child protection system, but focusing on ways that we can change that and prevent that involvement. And even by doing evaluations, highlighting things that aren't working, such as incorrect funding models that don't fit correctly for our communities, and or having the wrong program model that really doesn't work for our communities too as well. So with our evaluations, we're hoping to look at the whole system, not just sometimes evaluations focusing on practice. We want to look at that whole system of child protection. So what are the key outcomes that we are seeking with our evaluation framework? So we really want to build an evidence base of cultural ways of working in our communities. We want funds that are invested in culturally safe and culturally designed service responses. We want better outcomes for our children and families, and we want enhanced self-determination to decide for ourselves what elements of a program's success is based on our own identified needs and aspirations, and to have the power and resources to provide for our communities accordingly. So we want to support our member organisations to conduct culturally grounded evaluations, but to also push back on those evaluators who may not be a fit for them. And if I can also go back to, the elements of a program success, sometimes, the program specifications that our organisations are given just aren't what they are hoping to see as a program success. So for example, a program specification may say that you have to see 20 families, whereas our program may be, their goal might be to even see 10 families, but that's not a bad thing, because that 10 families, they may have been able to provide such intensive support to that family, and to get them reconnected to culture and connected to community. I'm sure those of us online, we all understand that these things take time to reconnect to culture, to reconnect to kin who you may not have been able to have that connection with for a really long time. And so, we really do need to change our elements of program success and what they're based on, and flip it to be based on what are the social and emotional well-being outcomes that our programs are achieving. So our objectives is that our evaluations will describe whether, to what extent, and how our ways of working effectively build the social, emotional, cultural, and spiritual well-being for children and their families and communities. We hope that our evaluations will explore and define the factors impacting on the program or service, including system issues and historical context. Our evaluations will measure the impact of our work, including hearing the voices of children and families, and explore the full extent of costs and resources required to deliver best practice, including costs of evaluation, value of cultural knowledge, and connections. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a sip of water. So I'm just going to take an opportunity to go through all of our evaluation principles in depth. I just think it's important to really go through those with you all. So just bear with me. This may be a long slide, but I think it's important to really highlight why we are really strong about our evaluation principles, and to really try to provide you with as much information about each of these evaluation principles. And we've had a bit of, due to some amazing feedback from our sector, we've actually, some of those principles are, the headings may be different now to what from just a couple of days ago. So which is really exciting. You know, we're continually updating, which I think, you know, when you're doing evaluations or when you're in this space in particular of whether you're either an evaluator or a researcher, I think that shows a real positive opportunity for us because we're able to you know, pivot and to be really flexible, and also to have that humility to be like, okay, yeah, no, great, that fits better with a community perspective. So that first principle is about cultural authority. So I'll just read our definition for cultural authority. So cultural authority is about the collective voice of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, gives us cultural authority in relation to matters concerning our children, families, and communities. Cultural authority is reflected in an evaluation when the knowledge and worldviews of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples are embedded in evaluation practices through our direction and leadership. The perspectives of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples needs to be included at all stages of the evaluation and reflected in evaluation methods and findings. For number 2, we've added self-determination to the start of that sentence. So what we're saying is self-determination through decision-making authority. And that means that self-determination in evaluation relates to the rights of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples to make decisions about all aspects of evaluation, so including the priorities, the preferred methods, and the implementation decisions. Decision-making authority in evaluation can be exercised by, number 1, organisations. So they're making decisions about what and how to evaluate, who can evaluate, how to interpret our stories, explain our findings, and develop and implement solutions. From community, this means that we listen to their perspectives in our stakeholder and reference group and ensure robust approval processes are implemented and followed. For our families, children, and young people, their voices are heard through the evaluation process and their perspectives are embedded in our solutions. Collective decision-making authority ensures data sovereignty is upheld when Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples determine what data is collected and how it is used. For our cultural identity relates to the shared values, belief systems, obligations, and practices, and we recognise the importance of cultural identity to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander resilience and well-being. Our evaluations acknowledge the significance of cultural identity, and we acknowledge and respect our diverse Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures, beliefs, and customs within and also across these two very distinct cultures. Our differences are seen as strengths and not barriers. We have generational resilience, and there is pride in our cultural identity. We celebrate the resurgence of cultural identity, knowledge, and belonging through dance, language, and art. Our evaluations put this into practice through innovative and inclusive evaluation methods and processes. So, you know, what we would love is for evaluations to be done in ways that aren't a typical, you know, just sitting asking questions. Like we would love to look at new ways of doing evaluations, whether that be through song, through dance, through paintings, to really ensure that the cultural identity, the self-determination of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are at the forefront. So number 4, we have changed actually to truth-telling. So truth-telling is a process for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples to communicate personal experiences of injustice and share their culture, heritage, and history with the broader community. thus enabling shared understandings of Australia's colonial history and its contemporary impacts. Evaluations can provide an opportunity for truth-telling by recording evidence about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's experiences from their perspectives, enabling healing and shared understandings. To support truth-telling in safe ways, it is important that people's diverse cultures and potentially traumatic histories are recognised and considered in evaluation methods and processes. We do this through creating environments where people feel safe and are encouraged to speak truthfully. To uphold the principles of truth-telling in an evaluation, we evaluate in ways that acknowledge trauma and its causes and seek to heal. We create a safe space to bring new ideas, questions, and cultural learnings, operate with transparency and openness to make it easy for others to see what we do, how we do it, and why we do it, provide opportunities for participants to lead the discussion, respect different ideas, and support people to tell their stories truthfully. For our children and our young people, we use clear, child-focused communication to build trust and safety. Number 5, two-way learning. The principle of two-way learning relates to knowledge sharing and mutual benefit between evaluators and participants. This calls for respectful, equitable relationships and reciprocity between participants and evaluators. Reciprocity refers to equal power relationships and explicit agreements in relation to responsibilities and benefits. Participants agree to share their knowledge and information, and evaluators agree to be transparent, to check their understandings with participants, and report findings and recommendations back to participants and the broader community. We reimburse people for their time, which is really, really important. Number 6, this one's the one that we've tweaked a little and we've now called this learning focused. So we design our services and programs to be evaluated throughout their life cycle as our ongoing commitment to continuous learning and improvement for our people and our future generations. We set clear, specific, measurable goals from the start when we establish programs and services to enable monitoring and evaluation. While acknowledging the value of monitoring outputs, we seek a shared focus on outcomes to better understand the impact of our programs and guide wise practice and change towards better future outcomes. We've molded the two together in terms of outcomes based and balance, and we've changed that one to represent the feedback from our sector so far. And so that one is now having a holistic approach. So we view our programs and services from all angles so that we can develop our understanding of the whole picture and work to improve outcomes for future generations. We'll be thorough, rigorous, and use self-reflection in our processes and measures. So one of the really key feedbacks that we got whilst we were speaking with our member organisations was this importance of wise practice and how we're doing wise practice. And I loved that because I think too often we automatically go to the term best practice. You know, it's a term that we use quite loosely. And one of our member organisations said, you know, let's change that to wise practice. Because for us as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, we're always trying to make sure that we're drawing upon the strengths of our elders and our ancestors when we're working, as well as the strengths that exist within our families and communities, to really ensure that the practice that we're doing is wise. And I just thought that was absolutely amazing. And, you know, it's a term that I've definitely started to use as opposed to best practice, because Again, it is a term that best practice is a term that we have all been guilty of. I know I myself can revert back to that, but I need to change even my own, decolonize my own thinking, you know, when it comes to even the terminologies that we use. And I'm hoping that throughout today's presentation, you'll see too as well that we have also tried to decolonize our ways. And towards the end, I'll share a bit of an example of what we've done to implement this evaluation framework in an upcoming evaluation that we will be commencing here at QATSICPP. So, sorry if that is a bit, if it looks a bit blurry or anything to you all, but this diagram helps to unpack how we're going to approach our evaluation from an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander worldview. So in our evaluations, we are going to do them our way. We're going to take the time to yarn at the right time with the right people. We do not push timeframes. We clarify our purpose and intent to gain permission before we get into the business of evaluation. We look to give as well as receive, and we work from a place of reciprocity and two-way learning. We practice Dadiri, also known as deep listening. We take it all in and reflect on what is being said and not said to gain deeper understanding. We value silence and we give space for thoughts to emerge and be shared with us. We acknowledge the story starts long ago, way before we as evaluators have stepped into this space. So we need to ensure what has occurred before impacts on families and communities and take that into account. We also look ahead, so for our future generations. Everything we do now has a lasting footprint. We seek as wide a view as possible and gather collective input from children, young people, parents, grandparents, elders, support workers, managers, and other leaders. We provide space and time, giving people the chance to mull over, come back a few times, sit with them, speak to others, choose when and how to give deeper thoughts. We take guidance from either the traditional owners or elders in the community and always come full circle with open communication processes that keep people informed along the way. We acknowledge if we've got it wrong and we go back and try again. Everything is a learning experience. We hear and see stories as they are shared, visually, artistically, in song or dance, on canvas, computer, or in sand. Our statement of intent. I'll let you all read that quote whilst I share with you a bit of background to our statement of intent. So our knowledge is strong and our evidence draws from over 65,000 years of continuous learning. This is at the heart of our evaluation. Our evaluation methodologies honour our collective voice and ensure that data is collected in a safe and healing way. Our evaluations ensure that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultural authority is respected and honoured. The voices of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children and families are included and central within our evaluations. Our evaluations identify agreed areas of change for action and change, which we hold ourselves to account on for our children and families. All data collected and analysed in our evaluation respects and honours Indigenous data sovereignty principles. So we have 4 key evaluation standards that we have been refining alongside our member organisations. And we wanted to ensure that we place First Nations knowledge, evidence and voice at the forefront of evaluation and ensure that these standards are linked to better outcomes for children and families. They're applied to our own evaluations as well as external evaluations for our services. So those conducted by researchers, government departments, universities. Our goal is that this will become kind of alongside other key Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander evaluation frameworks. This will become kind of gold standard when you are engaging and in an evaluation alongside Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community-controlled organisations. So standard 1 is about hearing and responding to the voices of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children and young people. So the voices of families, carers and communities are valued across all evaluations. We make specific reference to our children because they are particularly vulnerable and their voices are often left out of the evaluation processes. This is our opportunity to give voice to our future leaders and elders. Their perspectives are critical to understanding our impact and for creating responses to break the cycles of intergenerational trauma. If it is their preference, children and young people can be engaged independently of adults, only though if it is safe to do so and appropriate consent has been obtained. Standard 2 is that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people lead evaluation. So Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people will design, have decision-making power and uphold cultural obligations at all stages of the evaluation. Standard 3 is that our evaluation methodologies are safe and inclusive for all and provide an opportunity for healing. So all those engaged in an evaluation will use trauma-informed evaluation methods and safety protocols to ensure participants can engage safely, that it's an empowering process, that it's inclusive of all cultural groups, and that, the reporting of positive and negative issues, achievements and challenges is balanced and fair. We can't always have those voices at the table who are going to provide positive feedback about our evaluations. We need to ensure that we're getting we're having that balance. So, opportunities to improve our services and our outcomes. So our outcomes, as I think there's probably, if there's one thing that I'm hoping is being really shown throughout this evaluation framework is this importance of number 4, that outcomes of evaluations are explained and are transparent and accountable. So we're committed to seeking evidence of whether our programs achieve the intended outcomes and to undertake action to change the storyline based on the evaluation framework. So we can only do this through clarity and shared understanding about program goals and intended outcomes. So we want to ensure that there's not those changing of the goalposts, that there's alignment between objectives and measures, and that we're always being transparent in evaluation methods and findings, and even ensuring that we as evaluators are seeking feedback from those who are participating in our evaluations to make sure that we are doing it correctly. We want to ensure that we too are being held accountable and being transparent throughout this process. And our evaluations seek to explain whether and to what extent our ways of working effectively build social, emotional, cultural, and spiritual well-being for children, families, and communities. So what we've also done as part of this process, we are also committed to developing a resource kit to supplement the evaluation framework to include guidelines and resources to assist with the planning, commissioning, managing, and conducting of high quality evaluations aligned alongside the evaluation framework. So that evaluation kit will be structured in a way that, even goes to what is an evaluation, so understanding evaluation. How do you do an evaluation? So being about the evaluation process, how do we ensure that we're embedding safety? And how do you do that? And then how can you safely include the voices of children and young people? So, we're trying to really ensure that our organisations are equipped with as much knowledge and wisdom so that then they themselves feel confident and comfortable in undertaking an evaluation, or even, being able to push back to researchers or any that just might not seem like a good fit. which is perfectly fine. They can even, push back to us as a peak. That's our role too. So, we need to ensure that as a centre of excellence, well, I need to ensure that any of the evaluations that my team are doing are staying true to this evaluation framework too as well. It's not just a one-way street. So I thought I would also, just before I open up for questions, just also share a bit about, we will be working alongside the department to do the evaluation of delegated authority. And so what we have done in the development of our own evaluation framework for that is we've looked to these evaluation standards. And so number one, we've already decolonized our language. And so we're not calling our theory of change a theory of change. We're calling ours a story of change. And then we're not calling our MEL an MEL, a monitoring and evaluation and learning framework. We've changed that to be a learning and adaptation framework. Again, based on feedback from our sector over the years. We want to really ensure that we're capturing that storyline of, well, what's working with the implementation of delegated authority, what's not working, what are some ways that we can, what's getting in the way, but then what has been our successes. And, we've heard some amazing stories so far from families and from even workers within both our community controlled organisations and within the department, and how relationships has changed. So we really want to ensure that we're capturing that to the best of our abilities. So thank you all so much for the opportunity to present our evaluation framework. I'll just stop sharing now. But I just wanted to reiterate that this is a living document and a living framework. We may even still change some of those terminologies. And I hope you don't mind me, really unpacking those evaluation principles, because I just thought that was really important, and for everyone to understand how we got to that space, and also, that we are taking on that important feedback from our sector so that they themselves can see themselves in this evaluation framework. Like, what I would hate is for people to be, no, this doesn't fit. Like, even the language in itself is not language that we would use, as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So it's even been a really great experience for me, and also, an opportunity for me to continue to question and decolonize my own thinking in this space of research and evaluation. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Candy. That was great. We've got a couple of questions and a little bit of time if you're happy to take questions. I don't know if Carol, did you want to take yourself off mute to ask the question, or are you happy if I read it out?
I'm happy either way, Amy. I'm always happy to have a chat.
Great.
Thank you so much, Candice. That was absolutely interesting. I have to apologise. I came in about 10 minutes late, so I may have missed some important stuff. In our Brave Hearts research policy, we currently refer to the ethical conduct in research with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders peoples and communities that was pulled together by the NHMRC. Yeah. I'm just wondering, I mean, I was really impressed by some of the principles and stuff that you were talking about. And I'm picking up now that it's a work in progress document. I can't speak today. But I'm wondering if there will be, or if there are any links to some of those definitions that you provided today, because I would love to refer to that in our policy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I must, I forgot to preface at the very beginning too as well that I was very fortunate to pick up this piece because we worked alongside a gentleman, Kieran, who helped us to bring from a university, who helped us to bring all of this together. And he himself is an Aboriginal evaluator, and he constantly got us to, he constantly questioned the team about, what does that mean? What are we thinking when that means? So that's why we've tried to as well for our principals to be really transparent in terms of, when we say, what does this mean, for example, when Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander lead evaluations, like what are we thinking? So is it that, best case scenario, of course, would be that, we have an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander evaluator doing the evaluation. But if we can't, how are we supporting community or building community up to be their own evaluators too as well? So what's our role in that space in terms of, partnering with having genuine partnerships with universities to build the community, our community's wisdom and knowledge in evaluators. But more than happy to provide where we drew upon. I know there was a lot of things that we drew upon with NHMRC. Even I know of late, there's been the launch of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander evaluation standards, and there's some really amazing resources with that too as well. And so I think that was Annie Judy Atkinson's team who've produced that. So so it's been a great process, and to have someone like Kieran to just question us though and be like, but what does that mean? Because we can put things on paper and we can put it out, but if people aren't understanding them, we still have that role, to be well, what does this mean for an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander person? So so hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you, and I will be following up with an email to you as well.
Amazing, no problem. Happy to. No worries.
We've got more questions coming through, so we will have probably take a couple more. Is Cynthia online? They're asking, can you say more about Standard 2 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people lead evaluation? What does leading look like?
Yeah, sure. And I think I started to build on that with when yarning with Carol, and it's about, so if, as I said, if we can have Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, evaluators, really leading evaluations, then it's always better, for lack of a better word. Sorry, I just had a word and then it went out of my head. But when I was very fortunate to do, my certificate in evaluation, a lot of the research and a lot of that done by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander evaluators spoke about the importance of having Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in either being on the evaluation team or leading the team, because and I remember one quote specifically, and it was that because Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people just get it. And I was like, wow, that's like it's not academic by any means, that quote, but because, we're able to sit in that person's shoes, or we're able to, especially if, for myself as an ex-practitioner, I'm able to be like, oh, if I'm speaking with a fellow practitioner, oh, I get that struggle, I get that, when it's hard to, work alongside ridiculous timeframes, or when you're having to respond to another affidavit. Like, I get that. And so I think by having Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people leading or even a part of the evaluation team is gold. But just quickly, our ANROS research last year that we produced alongside Professor Daryl Higgins and his team, we really ensured that we had community researchers as part of that. So why can't we think of why can't we have that too as well, in terms of having Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community evaluators? And so, like, we work alongside them to help them build their confidence in doing and undertaking evaluations, because that process of the community researchers with the ANROS, like, I can't tell you how many are still contacting, asking for when we're going to do our next research, which, how good is that, So I think just working alongside people is so important.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. They're great questions coming through, everyone.
Yeah.
So I think there's comment by Philippa. So just fantastic presentation, Candice. I love this revisioning of how to do wise practice evaluation. And Susan's comment, this was so useful, thank you. I'm interested in how you manage disclosure of trauma stories and secondary trauma during this process. You outlined how you allow for people to tell their own story during evaluation processes. How is this guided, contained, supported, etc.?
Yeah, great question. I think, that's definitely going to be a learning opportunity for us as we go. But one of the things that we did alongside the Anne Rose research, because that was about understanding people's experiences with domestic and family violence, and especially when they come into contact with the child protection system, is having the right people there too as well to help support families or support children or even support workers who might be, disclosing things that may have a traumatic experience for them. And so, just making sure that you have the right people, even equipping your evaluators with those skills, or if not, having, support services right there who can then assist with that.
Yeah, we've actually got a webinar coming up later in the year about trauma-informed evaluation as well. So a lot of these conversations are going to help build, further discussions. It's really excellent. There's one more question as well. Do you have some practical tips in building up community members to lead evaluation in the evaluation team, as it is lacking an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander person?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the examples that we did with, again, I know this is more of a research space that we undertook ours, but I think it's valid for the evaluation space is, we ensured that we had regular check-ins. We went through how you can, so how can you ask this question? Any sort of challenges that you're coming across? Let's yarn that through. Even we went through, what is action research, which I think is important too, because I think, even for myself, as I've shared, I was a practitioner by background, and I never thought that this would be a space, to be honest with you all, that I would go into. But then I also remembered that we as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, we've been the first evaluators, we've been the first researchers. And so it's something that, when you're given the confidence, or when you're even given information about what is evaluation and how you can do it differently, and that academia is actually becoming a lot more open to different ways of doing evaluation and research. So I think it's our opportunity as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are getting this knowledge in this space to then share that with our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. I think we have someone with their hand up.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that too. Is it Lily? Do you want to take yourself off mute, Lily?
Yeah. Hello. I'm not Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander, but I have work colleagues who are. But I am someone with a disability, and I recently just did a research evaluation with a colleague of mine, and we were talking about research and how it's great that we're being in, whether you're Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander, whether it's someone with a disability or someone in, say, for example, domestic violence, it's great that we're being a part of this research kind of thing. We don't want people to do research without us, because they don't know anything. They don't know what it's like to live with a disability. They don't know, if they're not Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander, that they don't know what it's like to grow up with that kind of background. They don't know what it's like to grow up in a domestic household that has all of that kind of stuff. So I think it's really nice to actually hear that it's not just the disability sector, it's the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander area as well, that it's great that you guys are involving people that are Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander in the research. And I just wanted to make one more little comment. I came up with this with my colleague, and it's don't do research without us. So don't do research about us without us, because it really does make a sense of purpose and a sense of worth for us, people with a disability, or anyone in that case, that people are actually wanting to learn about us, that are actually wanting to hear about us and go, oh, okay, you know, just because we have a disability or are Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander doesn't mean I have to treat them differently. We're all human. We all deserve the same respect. So I thought that was kind of nice.
Thank you so much, Lily. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think, it's important to have people who have actual experience in those areas to be a part of, evaluations, to be a part of research, and even the importance of having our LGBTQI plus community across and represented too as well. So thank you so much for your comments. It's so important. So thank you.
Thanks, Lily. I think we've run out of time today now, guys, but we've got a couple of more things to get through. I just wanted to just send an absolutely big thank you, Candice, for your time today and sharing your knowledge on this topic. It was really wonderful that you could step us through, those key considerations, principles, values, and standards of the evaluation framework. And again, I just wanted to really congratulate you on this work. There's lots of lovely comments coming through in the chat now as well, saying thank you, Candice. It's a real privilege to hear about your work, and people echoing that comment as well. So if everyone's happy just to stay online, we've just got a couple of more things to go through, just with upcoming opportunities and events you might like to go to attend. So I'll just share my screen one last time, and then we'll wrap that up today. So we've gone through the questions. There's upcoming, yeah, I was going to share actually in the chat. Sorry, I've lost a window. Bear with me for a second. There we go. So yeah, upcoming opportunities, there's lots coming up in the research evaluation space, as well as also in the broader QATSICPP context as well. So I'm just saying, there we go, shared that with you now. So on the 30th of May, the Data Catalyst Network, which is a national network, it's similar to our Research Evaluation Network. It's supported by Info Exchange and the Paul Ramsay Foundation. They're going to have a topic on getting your data in shape on data governance and AI. Yeah, that's the Thursday, the 30th of May. The Australian Evaluation Society also has coming up on the Tuesday, the 28th of May to the 30th of May. This is a series of 2-hour webinars over the 3 days, and they're covering, again, discussions around AI and machine learning. At QATSICPP, we also have an upcoming event, a Human Rights Network special event on Monday, the 27th of May, which is engaging with the Human Rights Act review, featuring the independent reviewer, Professor Susan Harris-Rimmer, and our CEO, Amy McVie. We also have an upcoming webinar on the 31st of May for National Reconciliation Week, which will bring together First Nations speakers from across Queensland to discuss the importance, impact and support for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander led responses to youth crime. We also have on the 5th of June, we're hosting a webinar with Professor Hal Pawson and Dr. Andrew Clark, who will join QATSICPP CEO Amy McVie to discuss more we can do and must be done to end the housing crisis in Queensland. In June, we also have a combined quality collaboration network and research evaluation network, and we'll host a discussion on centering the voice of children and young people in research and evaluation. And so guest speakers will be talking about ethics in research with children and young people in the community sector, and drawing on recent research data tools and projects involving children and young people. So that event is on Wednesday, the 19th of June, and it's a special event that will run for 2 hours with really some really exciting guest speakers for that one. We also have a data governance and benchmarking event on Thursday, the 17th of July. And, oh, I've missed one. There we go. The last one is on developmental evaluation, which is around adapting in complex, emerging and dynamic situations. And so that event is on the 31st of July. So I've shared all of those events in the chat, and also flagging that we have a number of QCOS town hall events coming up. And so there's sessions through April, May and June. So we're about halfway through those events, and they're talking about emerging issues in your area. So keep an eye out on those events coming up in a region where you're based. Thank you again for joining us, everyone, today. A really big thank you again to Candice. And thank you for staying online. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their week. And I look forward to connecting again in June. I think we did launch polls a little bit earlier. I don't know if everyone saw that on the screen. We had a couple of tech issues this morning, so hopefully that did work. But if they didn't, feel free to provide your feedback in the chat pane as well. That would be much appreciated. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you,
Good to see
everybody.
you. Thank you so much, Candice. Lots of chats in the comments in the chat saying thank you. Thank you, thank you. It's always nice to hear.
It is.
I forgot to ask you, Candice, I wasn't sure if you your slides, usually we get questions about people wanting access to the slides. Are you happy to share those? We can follow up with you after.
Absolutely. Yeah, too easy.
Wonderful.
Too easy.
Did you mention you have another back-to-back meeting after this today, or is that, I feel like someone did say. Okay.
Yeah, I have it seems to just be the morning of meetings. So yeah, from this one, then next one, and then next one. But I think the next one, thankfully, is due to go for an hour and a half. But I think they've just emailed to say we'll just have an hour. So that's lovely.
Oh, excellent. I hope you have some time to refuel. Thank you.
Of course, no problems. Just reach out if you need anything else from me. But I'll send through a copy of the presentation right now whilst I remember.
Oh, great. Yeah. And I'll just double check all of the comments and make sure that we followed up with all of the questions, but I'll link you in with any of the questions if there was more.
Great. Thank you. Thanks so much. Have a good day.
Have a nice day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks again to Tarira as well for supporting us with the tech today. Bye, everyone.